You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
If you don't speak, then you won't get spoken to. People only see you when you up, then they notice you. Trying to be a legend, create lines that's quotable. Only the real shall last, and I only know a few. People when they feelings always acting emotional. Ain't about a check, then it ain't negotiable. Gotta show respect to the people that's posting you. Soon to be on posters posted up like the older dudes.
Now we aging like fine wine, how we supposed to do. Peep the shade on the timelines, this time posted cool. Shit is black and white like photos from a disposable. Certain situations you ain't end up uncontrollable. All up in their head, I be so confused. I just brush it off, peep the shoulder moves. We all got the same 24, so it's no excuse. Switch it up, we could rap or produce. The things you can't have is forbidden fruit.
It seems like people love telling lies on me. They know that I'm the one, they got their eyes on me. They know I'm here to stay.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your host, Nathan Snell, Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is season 15, episode 6 of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I know it's been a week since you last saw the last video and last saw this beautiful face and heard this beautiful voice. In this episode, we are doing the NFL grades. The draft grades are complete. Before we get into that, just a couple of things I'd like to say up front. I do apologize. I'm wrapping up the spring semester for school. WNBA media is also getting ready to start. So you should be seeing content on the channel so far soon because WNBA season is approaching. So I can't wait to get that out to you guys and share that. Also, great football content's coming out as well. We're doing a part 1 and part 2 of this, so look out for episode 7. And then also we're going to break down the Ravens and Commanders since I'm in the DMV area. We're going to break down those teams a little bit more. The schedule should be coming out around before Mother's Day weekend, so you'll see the video coming out soon as well. But let's get into it. First and foremost, this draft I thought was pretty good. There are some question marks in terms of reaches. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. I wanted to get a better understanding because there was some winners and there were some losers in this draft. There were some teams that definitely hit on the draft right away. I was expecting a team like Houston to wait until next year because Caleb Williams and who else is coming out in that draft? I can't think of his name. Escapes me time ahead of excuse me. Is coming out, but winners and losers. I got it by far say Philadelphia and Houston. Disappointing is Detroit and Atlanta, and we'll get into that. But let's just get right into it. With the first overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers took Alabama's Bryce Young. It was no brainer. This is the new face of the franchise. They have, if I'm not mistaken, they've gone with four former first round picks and 3 other, you guess you can say at this point, the journeyman since Cam Newton's last good year. I want to say it was 2018, winning in Carolina. Where Bryce, I get it, he lacks in size and physically, he's not, the biggest quarterback. He has the skill set. I saw some mock drafts where Anthony Richardson could have been the number one overall pick. But I like Bryce here for all the right reasons. One, I think under Frank Wright, who I think is an offensive guru, I can see a lot of RPO plays for him built around his skill set. And I think it was smart to trade up for a guy like that. Now, I'm just hoping that they continue to build around him, such as an offensive line, even continue to develop the wide receiving core, because they got some veterans, they got some decent pieces. They signed Miles Sanders and those guys. So there should be a good team, decent team in Carolina. But this is the new face of the franchise, and I like this pick. I was shocked with this next pick. The Houston Texans, second overall pick, took C.J. Stroud. I was shocked at this. I was really hoping they would take Will Anderson here because DeMarco Ryans is defensive-minded head coach. I think that I think it's like he and CJ were going to be number one, number two overall quarterbacks. Period. They needed a quarterback. We're not disputing that. My thing was get your capital now, get the quarterback next year. But they still kept all their draft capital and just hit a home run with it. They drafted a quarterback and he fits their system. I don't know where this narrative on him about his running him running out the pocket came from. I think it's more of his arm and his size at quarterback, his style of play as a pocket passer. I think he checks off all the boxes. Yes, there's some things he can improve on, maybe structural wise, but I think in a system where you're going to see San Francisco's offense, like where it's that zone boot action offense, I think CJ will definitely thrive in that for sure. And then with the third overall pick, Arizona had this pick and traded it to Houston, and Houston took, I called it, Will Anderson Jr. They got arguably the best pass rusher in this draft. They did give up on some draft capital for him. They did give up their first round pick to get him. I think he's a star. They stole that pick from the Cleveland Brownies, but I think they could have. I still would have hoped maybe next year, but I get it. Get the quarterback now and get the defensive player. I still think it's an A+. Your draft capital, you did take a little hit, but you made up for it. But you still have that Cleveland pick, so I'm not mad. I think he's the best defensive lineman in this draft, like I said, and he fits this team. I mean, other than J.J. Watt, who you really haven't had a true defensive star, now you have him and Derek Stingley. You're building a defense for the next few years that teams should be. The Texans defensively, they should be better, in my personal opinion. And I mean, at Alabama, he was a true star. And if I was starting a team, he's one of my very first picks. Then this is where things got interesting. The Indianapolis Colts selected Anthony Richardson. Couple questions I have here. This is a swing for the fences pick. This is a risky pick. My only concern with Anthony is this. We're only going off by 1 year, okay, as a starter. He has the generational talent, but I have seen players like this where it's oh, wow, like, oh, shoot, like that type of player. I've also seen players like that disappoint, because this is one of those type of players where if everybody's on him, they say, this is the guy, get him. And he doesn't pan out everybody's gone. It just points that way. I don't think he's a raw prospect. I think his stats back him up. I just think that this was a reach. I don't think the potential's high. I think his floor isn't as low because of his as a running out the pocket. But I think he will add a lot to Indianapolis' running game, and they'll have to force defense will have to force a commit to him. They have a decent team around him. I still think they can continue to build around Michael Pittman Jr., Jonathan Taylor. I don't think he should start right away, but I can see him definitely being the week 1 starter, in my opinion. Number 5, this is where I would have expected Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson, Miles Murphy to be drafted, but instead they took the first corner off the board, Devon Witherspoon. I like this pick for them. He has the skills to me. They really have the corners are decent. He has a physicality, his ball skills, especially be through the air. The only thing that kind of stood out there to me, they needed more help on the defensive line. They were 26th in total yards defensively against the run and lost 3 players to free agency that were up front. They could have taken a defensive lineman. Jalen Carter was there on my notes here. Tyree Wilson, Miles Murphy, those guys were there. So I'm curious to see how he'll do. I think he'll do just fine. I think it's a good fit, but watching them in the playoffs, there was a lack of a pass rush, and they could have addressed that. That's just me. With the 6th overall pick, the Lions had this pick. The Arizona Cardinals selected Paris Johnson Jr. I like this pick. To me, he was my best offensive lineman, and they still kept their draft capital for the next year. So when you had on that, you got an elite offensive tackle, and you kept your picks for next year's draft. For me, what stood out about Paris Johnson Jr. is I think he has great size. He has athleticism. He could play left or right. DJ Humphries is still there, so he's going to probably be at the right tackle. But I value offensive linemen, and that's something they needed badly. So Kyler Murray got the guy he wanted because that's a team last year. They gave up 46. They give up 46 sacks. That can happen, and he fits them. He will definitely pick up their scheme like that. I think he has all the tools to be a great player. I see great potential for him. I think it's a great pick for Arizona. 7, Las Vegas. This is where I thought they should have took a corner, and they took Tyree Wilson. Another kind of question mark. Chandler Jones disappointed last year. I was hoping he would do well. He's not. We haven't. The results are not there. I thought that I would have seen, and I think there was too much on Max Crosby's shoulders. So I'm curious to see what Tyree Wilson will do. I think this will give a little bit more of a okay, we need you to pick it up a little bit. I think he has the size for a pass rush. He didn't participate in the combine because he's still recovering from a foot surgery that he had. But started at Texas A&M, then transferred to Texas Tech. Great collegiate career. He shifted. I just see all watching the tape, he just got better. He started, I think, it's like 50% 3 years ago, and then 2022 was 80%. So he has the strength, the athleticism, the acceleration. I think he could definitely be a great player for Las Vegas. This is where reach number 1 occurred. With the 8th overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Bijan Robinson.
What are you? How?
Bijan Robinson is a great player. Not disputing that. He will definitely. I can understand why Tyler Algier, he did get rush over for 1,000 yards. I understand Cordell Patterson's not getting any younger. Christian Gonzalez, Kaylee Ringo, Cam Smith, DJ Turner, those guys were there. I thought they could have addressed in the corner. I just don't really understand the logic of the pick. I think he'll do fine. Maybe it could be a bell. He could be a bell cow. Who knows? We'll see. But I just think because they did get the former 3rd overall pick for the Detroit, Jeff Okudah. You have AJ Terrell on the other side. I really thought you could have taken this. I just think when you draft a running back in the first round, and especially where they were in the top 10, that's very risque. That's a reach. Because again, unfortunately, with running backs, we always say the same thing with wide receivers and other positions. You can find these guys day 1, day 2, day 3. He was as low as 22, 18. I want to say 18 or 19 or 20 in most mock drafts. But I think he'll do fine in Atlanta. We'll see. We'll see. But the only reason why I said a D+ because they had other needs, and this was to me not one of them. Number 9, the Philadelphia Bulldogs selected Jalen Carter. When healthy, I think he is the best defensive tackle. The Philadelphia Eagles got a championship caliber player for a championship caliber defense. We're all aware of the stuff that happened off the field. We're not going to talk about that. Well, what Jalen Carter brings to the Eagles, I think he is, to me, he has all the potential in the world to be one of the best defensive tackles in the game. And he's around great players that will help him reach that potential. They did lose Hargrave to the 49ers in free agency, so he fills that hole. Yes, Howie Roseman only gave up the 2024 for a 4th rounder. And when you look at Jalen Carter, he has strength, body control. He is to me a run stopper. He plugs the hole. The only thing is when he went into the combine, he was about 315. And then he went to the pro day, he was about 9-10 pounds heavier. But also, too, they've also brought up some other stuff that I don't think is truly necessary when we're talking about drafts. They brought up his I'm going to leave it there. We're not going to talk about that. But what we will talk about is that Jalen Carter will do well in Philadelphia. This is my sleeper for Defensive Rookie of the Year. The Chicago Bears took Darnell Wright with the 10th overall pick.
Relationship with your
Oh my God.
Peter Saransky was there. Now I'm just going to I'm just being honest. Now, Darnell Wright's a great tackle, but this is very risky because this is the second time we traded back twice. If you're Ryan Poles, and you have to be that confident in Tevon Jenkins and Braxton Jones. Because there were some other guys, like I said, Peter was there. Out of Tennessee, Darnell's a great offensive lineman. I think he, to me, has great hands. The tape, I saw all the notes. He has the highest look as a pass protector. I get why they did it, but when I look at that offensive lineman, I'm not confident in it. And we'll see. This kind of gives me the year when Panay Sewell was drafted a little bit. I'm going to reach out to my guy Nick Rosario of Let's Talk Football, host of the Roundtable, because I have some questions on that. But I mean, I get why they did it. I get it. I do. Number 11, the Tennessee Titans. They took Peter Skoronsky, another great offensive lineman, because if you watched them last year, they got to the finish line with a struggling offensive line that dealt with injuries. It was a massive need, badly. You saw it. It's just disappointing to really kind of see Tennessee kind of starting all over again. I'm kind of curious to know what their identity is going to look like. I think he just is a good blocker, run or pass. There's a lot of value. I don't know where they're going to start him. He could play guard and or tackle. Personally, I think he should start at tackle, particularly on the left side, because Taylor Lewan's no longer there. I'm just curious to see what they'll do with him. But other than that, I liked this pick for Tennessee. And then reach number 2, the Detroit Lions selected Jahmyr Gibbs.
Whoa. Now, you got too much dip on your chip. Huh? Who you think I am? Do I look like Boo Boo the Fool?
I get it. Great. He's a good running back, but that's a reach. Again, as I said it for Atlanta, I don't think he's going to be that. He could be their bell cow because they signed David Montgomery, and then also too they trade in the same breath turned around and trade DeAndre Swift, which I thought which made no sense to me. But I thought Detroit had other needs that needed to be addressed, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, especially on the other side of Aid Hutchinson. Disappointed with that. But I get it. I don't like it, but I understand it. The Green Bay Packers selected Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa. He is a solid defensive lineman. I think there's a lot of potential. There's a high ceiling for him. He needs a lot of development for him to be a consistent starter. I think with a guy like you put alongside a guy like Preston Smith, all there is to me is he's shown flashes of what he can be. This is the type of player I think Green Bay really, really wanted. I was hoping they would get Jordan Love some help, particularly a pass-catching tight end, even an offensive lineman. But I'm curious to see what that'll look like this upcoming season because I think now I'm just going to hold that till we get to that preview. Number 14, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Broderick Jones. They got my 5th best offensive lineman in this draft. 3 needs that came to my mind: offensive line, defensive tackle, and I would argue be a set corner if you're Pittsburgh. They needed a little bit of help, and I think they got it right there. To me, they traded up and they traded up and got the guy I think they want. I think he'll do fine with them. I didn't see him going past really the top 15. He's extremely athletic. I still think he needs some work. The ceiling is high for him. And I think he probably will start on the left side for Pittsburgh because he definitely has the upside to me to play left tackle. Um, and they rolled with the dice, so he just needs a little bit of work. Give him about like a year or two, and I think he'll turn into a solid left tackle for years to come. Before we get into the 15th overall pick, let's take a quick break with the sponsor of this show, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? Well, why don't you check out Zagnif Apparel, where you can and you will dress like you're already famous. Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
And you can most certainly dress like you're already famous with the next 50% off using my code, Big Nate, for 15% off your purchase with Zagnif Apparel. Thank you so much, Zagnif Apparel, for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break with this song. And we're back with this 15th overall pick, the New York Jets. Will McDonald the fourth, excuse me, Will Anderson. Will McDonald the fourth out of Iowa State. I still think there's some work on him. I think he has his tools, all the tools to be a capable starter in the NFL. I think he has the physical traits. He's an older prospect, which kind of stood out to me a little bit, but he has all the tools to be great. I still think he just needs some work, and I think he'll do well with the Jets defense. I had Bordick Jones actually going here. The only reason why I'm concerned is because Malachi Becton, who, by the way, I think it looks like he's in tremendous shape. I'm hoping all the best for him this upcoming season. He's dealt with injuries, but I get it. I think he, to me, will do fine. I really thought the New York could have traded back for him. Could have got some more value because I think you could have drafted a tight end here. I'm not sure what you're going to get on Mercedes Lewis. Could have filled some other needs, but I think what the Jets have now, I think he adds a little more flavor to the recipe. So I'm not mad at it. And painfully, we get into it, and the only reason I say painfully because my guy Will Kramer, shout out to Will Kramer, Sean Spencer. The Washington Commanders took Emmanuel Forbes. I understand. I get it. I understand. This is a scheme fit. But Christian Gonzalez was right there. Um, the ball production, all the IQ, it's all there. I think he is another great corner that he's skilled. They went with they needed an outside corner. I understand that. Christian Gonzalez was right there. I'm concerned about his size. He's 166 pounds. That's small for an NFL player. I don't care. The talent's there. It's the size. He's going to have to bulk up. It's giving me like a wide receiver. I really wanted even Deontay Banks or Kaylee Ringo or again Christian Gonzalez. But I get it. I get it. I think Emmanuel would do just fine in a Jack Del Rio defense. I get it. He would do just fine. And then painfully, with the 17th overall pick, the New England Patriots took Christian Gonzalez. They traded up and got him right there because Pittsburgh had this pick. To me, coming out of Oregon, he has all the tools. I think he's going to be great for them. I think he'll thrive in man or zone defense. The ball production, I kind of think it was kind of the way that the defense was in Oregon last year. He has the size and speed that will fit a Bill Belichick-led defense, in my personal opinion. They gained more picks. New England did. They stole them. So I think this is arguably the steal of the draft, in my personal opinion. So let's see how it looks with these two, because I'm kind of having fears in the next 3-4 years. We're probably going to say Christian Gonzalez. But let's get into the 18th overall pick. And with the 18th overall pick, the Detroit Lions selected Jack Campbell.
I'm not going to even sit here and act like I didn't know this was coming. Or act like I know this was coming, because I did it.
Oh, my God.
Okay. This was crazy. I don't really know where to start. I think he could turn out. I think Jack Campbell can turn out to be a great starter. I think he has the tools. I think his ability to play within the box as a run defender, I think also solidifies him as a pass coverage linebacker, which is something in the modern NFL you need. But this is a reach, because this is a guy you can get in day 3, day 2, day 4. And on top of that, this is an off-ball linebacker. I could see if he was a middle linebacker, it's a little bit different. Where's my clip? I can't defend that. I really can't. I'm curious to see what it looks like. I think he'll be fine. I don't think it's the issue. I just think it's where he's drafted. Because the first pick that was puzzling, and then this one to me it just lets me know that this was a Dan Campbell pick. Okay, we'll see what it looks like. And then 19, Tampa Bay took Kalijah Cansey. I think he will actually be fine. This is a safety pick in my personal opinion. To me, as a pass rusher, he's a little bit smaller compared to the other guys, but he has great explosion, great burst off the line. When you have a guy, now we'll be learning from guys like Vita Vea, Greg Gaines. they're gonna get a lot out of him potential wise. I think they're going to make him focus on being a pass rush first as he develops. In my personal opinion, against the run, he's great. Just the pass rush just needs a little bit more. Needs a little bit of work. He has all the traits. The tools are there. I think he can do a lot. But historically, in my opinion, 3-4 defensive teams. I've never seen teams pull a guy like that. But it's worked. Historical examples have worked. It's shown. I can give you a couple examples off the top of my head. Aaron Donald, Leroy Glover for the Saints. They come off the top of my mind, but I'm actually not surprised with this. I liked it. This is where it went crazy with the 20th overall pick. Seattle took Jackson Smith and Njigba. I think he'll do just fine in Seattle. He's now alongside DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They're going to make defenses scheme for them every single night. The concern, a little bit of a concern, I still think they missed on draft working on the defensive line, but I get it. Because I think when Tyler Lockett called it a career, this is your number 2 guy. I think he's going to feed off of what DK and Tyler will do. I think he's going to benefit more in the short term, where they'll let DK and Tyler do their thing, and he just feeds off their energy. I think he has after the catch speed. I think he has all those tools. I think to me, he will definitely be an extra boost of energy to that offense. That receiving group is now stronger than ever, and I'm not mad at it. So give a little bit more time. Give it like a year. I think he's my sleeper to an offensive rookie of the year. And then Justin Herbert got some help because Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, even Palmer injuries last year plagued them. And I think getting Quentin Johnson was a good pick for them. They needed somebody who could take the top off the defenses. So to me, this is a good pick. I did read some notes on him where he has he's not consistent with catching the ball and needs a little bit more work on route running. I think in this system, I think he will thrive. I think they'll work on that, especially with a guy like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I think they'll be a big part of his development. We can make a case that they could have taken Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison, but I still think he's a great receiver who has, to me, after the catch, wide receiver. And again, I think he is a good replacement for Keenan Allen when Keenan Allen calls it a career. Number 22, I was hoping we get Deontay Banks, but that's okay. We got Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers and Lamar Jackson. Signing Lamar Jackson on the same day, and I called it in that preview just before the draft. Signing Lamar Jackson and then drafting Zay Flowers. This is another, to me, a big boost to the wide receiving core, because if you watched last year, ladies and gentlemen, our wide receiving core was very disappointing. It was really bad to the point where we were praying as if Deshaun Jackson was the second coming, and that's no disrespect to him. It was also to the point where Devin Duvernay was your, I guess you can say, number 1 wide receiver, but was rarely used. To me, this is kind of like Hollywood Brown 2.0 in terms of explosive receiver to get down the field. I think he kind of reminds me of Tyreek Hill because it's going to open up the offense for Rashard Bateman, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Odell Beckham Jr. I'm not going to see one Charles Cole either. I think he's going to have a good year as well. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. But I personally wanted them to draft a corner only because when I looked, they haven't drafted a corner since Marlon Humphrey, and that was 2015. I'm not comfortable with the guys that they have. They talked about signing Rocky Sin and some other guys. I'm not confident with that. That's just my personal opinion. I wanted a corner, but I get it. Number 23, the Minnesota Vikings took Jordan Addison. This is Adam Thielen's replacement. To me, he and Justin Jefferson are, to me, going to be a 1-2 punch in the NFL. I don't know what they're going to do with Dalvin Cook. I feel like they're going to move on from him. To me, this is Minnesota's last hurrah, because I think they're throwing everything and just hoping that the offense gets them. I'm a little concerned they didn't address their defense. They could have went with anything, honestly, with this pick, but I get it. They only had five draft picks. They are cap strapped. Again, salary cap's not a lie. My eyes don't lie. They don't really have a lot of money to make moves, and this is Kirk Cousins' last year in his contract. So this is now we're all in or we're all out. So I'm not mad at it. I think Jordan, he knows how to get open. He can create space, and he can. It's interesting that's watching him at the tape, USC, the blind spots. He can pick those out real easily. I don't think he'll have much attention because most defenses are going to focus on JJ. So I like this pick from Minnesota. 24, I think New York is going to get a great player. And his name is Deontay Banks. I think the only issue that stood out to me was his shoulder surgery in 2021. I feel like that's why he didn't get the attention I feel like he should have gotten. I think he has the height. He's very athletic, and he's confident in his press ability. Deontay, to me, is a swing and a miss type of corner. Yes, we could talk about he only had, I think it was 2 interceptions his entire Maryland collegiate career. We get that. But to me, he has the potential. He's physical, he's energetic. I think he can be more. I think you can see that develop. And especially in the Wink Martindale defense, he fits their scheme. I think he will do well next to Dory Jackson, in my opinion. I do think he does need to work a little bit more on his patience because it's something about Maryland's corners this year. Their patience was a little suspect. And then I'm hoping that Deontay, that gets fixed. But I think it will. 25, Buffalo gave Josh Allen another weapon. Dalton Kincaid, I think he's more of a wide receiver than a tight end. To me, he's another other option outside of Dawson Knox. You still have Gabriel Davis and Stephon Diggs. I don't know what this notion that he needs another wide receiver. I think he has help. Personally, I think what he need to work on is the offensive line and the running game. I thought that was kind of what stood out to me a little bit watching them last year. Those were two things. The offensive line is getting older, and the running game wasn't used quite effectively. I think he kind of has the core. It's just offensive line and running, in my opinion. For me, I think Dalton will do just fine. In the passing game, I thought getting an offensive lineman, or even defensively, needs a pass rush. I thought he could have got that, but we'll see what it looks like. I think he's a great tight end coming out of Utah. I think he'll probably be most likely playing a similar role to Dawson Knox because he's on the roster for the next 2 years. So this could be his replacement. Who knows? I don't think this is a reach, but I think there were other needs Buffalo needed, and that's just me. That team in Dallas, actually, before we get into that,
mediocre team and Big D. That's what makes this funny. How about the Cowboys? How about the Cowboys? Some way, somehow, when it counts, just wait. They will let you down. The accident, they will mess it up. Just wait. The accident, they will let you down. Just wait. The accident, the accident, the accident, waiting to happen. It will happen. I'm predicting they're gonna be irrelevant. I'm predicting an absolute embarrassment for the last decade and a half. They make me laugh. All the talent that they have is unbelievable, man. Big D, he's a it with it. They will mess it up. Just wait. The accident, they will let you down. Just wait. The accident, waiting to happen. It will happen. How about them Cowboys?
Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. I think he is as a nose tackle. I think he'll do well in that Dallas defense because that was something that stood out to me. They struggled to stop the run. I think they were like somewhere ranked in almost the top. Like they struggled. I forgot where they were in terms of stopping the run. My only concern with this pick, I thought they could have used maybe a tight end because Dalton Schultz was not there, but this was not bad. He does have a little bit of a pass rush, but we all know his main role will be stopping the run for sure. He's not the most box office guy. I had him on my list here. I'm looking. I had him actually at number 10, but he fills the needs that Dallas will have. But I think great player coming out of Michigan, no issues with that. 27, Antoine Harris. So, again, Brian Branch. I forgot about those guys. Brian Branch, Joey Porter, those guys were there because the corners that they've had not panned out well in Jacksonville. The reason why they took Antoine Harrison, and I understood this, because Cam Robinson, coming off an injury, is suspended for violating the performance substance abuse policy.
How do you do that? How do you do that? What the hell is going on? What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing?
So he's out for the first, I think 5 main games he's going to get. I see why they did it. Especially on the other side of Walker Little. He's more of a swing tackle. I know they did a good job. They traded down twice and got 3 additional mid-round selections. I'm not mad at that. I think he's a great fit. I think again, Cam Robinson. I think he'll be back by weeks. I forgot how many games he got, but he will miss the first few weeks of the season. Doug Peterson always values offensive linemen. So let's see what happens. Because he could play guard, he could play tackle, but we'll see what happens when Cam Robinson comes back. But I think he's going to be left tackle. So we'll see. Cincinnati, this was a pretty good pick. Miles Murphy. This was stuck out to me. They only had 30 sacks as a team last year, especially in the AFC North, where it's, I think, got a little bit better. In my personal opinion, you need to get to the quarterback. I don't really understand, and I've noticed this with ball. We're not valuing defense, in my personal opinion. Defense still wins championships. Yes, in the modern day NFL, you have to have a solidified offense. No debating that. But if my defense only had 30 sacks on the year, I'm not pleased with that personally. So for me, they did fill most of their voice in free agency. But this to me is a future pick and helps with their rotation. I still think he needs some work as a pass rush, because I don't know what you're going to get at Troy Hendrickson, who's going to be on the wrong side of 30, and Sam Hubbard. I think he's going to look for a big payday. I think he, to me, is a future. So he's going to probably just learn off those guys. It's just more of he's a guy who gives them fresh legs. Yes, and he has the athleticism to me to be a strong 2-number guy. 29, the New Orleans Saints took Brian Breeze. New Orleans was another team that struggled to stop the run, and I think he brings a lot of that. If they can get the Brian Breeze from 2 years ago, I'm all for it. He does have some health issues that I read scouting reports said that's kind of the issue. I think he'll add a lot of depth, but there really wasn't any other options that stood out to me. Nolan Smith was probably another one they could have gotten, but I like this pick for them because to me, he's going to be their defensive tackle. So they're going to be asking him to be a run stopper. 30, that team in the Philadelphia Bulldogs. Nolan. He's on the smaller side as pass rushers. Now you've got Hassan Reddick, Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis. That's something you see on Madden. That's not fair. It really isn't. They got a steal with him. They actually, I might, you know what? I'm gonna say this. They actually might break the sack record this upcoming season.
Guaranteed.
31, Kansas City. They took Felix Ndike Unzama out of Kansas State. They didn't really need much. Pass rush is something they can improve on. They did get oh my gosh, his name's escaping me. George Kalafas. And Frank Clark departed in free agency. That you're going to be playing alongside Chris Jones. It's not the best pick. Not a box office pick, let me say it that way. But it gets the job done, in my personal opinion. And with the 32nd overall pick, the Miami Dolphins selected NA. The Miami Dolphins forfeited their first round pick because of the issue with the trying to get Tom Brady and Sean Payton, if I'm not mistaken correctly. So that's what I'm understanding. So they can't do that. So they lost the first round pick. So that's their pick, NA. So let's get into the last part of the podcast, and that is the final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
So my final thought is this was arguably probably the best draft. The NFL draft to me is always one that's very significant because there was a lot of stories that came out, good stories. There were some guys I was disappointed in not going the first round. Joey Porter was one. Brian Branch was another. DJ Turner. There were some steals. But the one thing I always like about the draft is that it's almost a humbling experience because watching some of these guys and how they thrive. They've worked their tails off to get where they're at. It's such amazing to me. And I wish these guys all nothing but success. I know we're going to have Pro Bowlers, MVPs in this draft. For those that didn't get drafted, I was very, very surprised. Some guys, particularly some local guys, Jacob Copeland, Dante Demas, those guys. It hurt, particularly watching College Park. Didn't get drafted. Dante signed with us, the Ravens. I forgot where Jacob went, and I'm missing somebody else off the top of my head. Hold on, let me look really quick. I'm missing somebody on that season. Raheem Jarrett. He's with Tampa Bay. So I wish those guys all nothing but the best. This was a good draft, and I can't wait for the season. We're going to have a lot of great content. We're going to break down the Washington and Ravens Commanders picks. We're going to give those teams grades, those picks grades, and you'll also see WNBA preview coming up soon. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, be tuned in for future episodes. Thank you for tuning in to Big Name Sports Talk Podcast. Thank you for so much for giving me the support on this channel. You can find me on Twitter at Nathan Snell. You can find this also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, Big Nate Sports Talk. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe. I will catch you on the flip side. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good evening. Stay
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything.